It might be a new year, but every day that you wake up, you get to be a new you. No matter what your endeavors are this year, I want you to know that you can have it. But there's one thing that you absolutely have to do first in order to be, do, and have whatever it is that you want. And that is to set your mind to it. So, in this conversation today, I'm going to show you how to set your mind to whatever it is that you want to be, do, and have for this year in 2026. This is a really important component to manifesting anything. It doesn't matter whether you want to become a new person, whether you want to have certain things in your life, or whether you want to do certain things in your life. You absolutely have to do this first in order to successfully achieve your desires and your goals. So, I'm going to mention this one thing that you have to do, and then I'm going to break it down for you. And no matter what it is, whatever your endeavor is, no matter what it is, it's subjective, it's up to you. But I'm going to show you how to apply it to your life, no matter who you are. So, there's only one thing that we absolutely need to do in order to be, do, and have anything. Embody. We need to embody the things or the person that we want to be and the things that we want to do and to have, right? This is literally what we set out to experience every day. We wake up and we decide who we're going to be today. We decide what we want to have today, and we decide what we want to do today. Every single day, we are making a conscious choice. Well, hopefully, it's a conscious choice for you, but we're making this decision of who we want to be, what we want to do, and what we want to have. Okay, but no matter what you want to be, do, or have, you need to embody the qualities of that person who does the thing and then has the thing. And that is actually the first step. This happens, embodiment happens in the mind. We actually don't do anything or are able to achieve anything without embodying it in our mind first. Like, there's a lot of people who can declare with words something that they want to do or an experience that they want to have or a person that they want to be, only to be let down, right? Because we're not living up to our own expectations of what we want to be, do, and have. We can say the thing, but if we don't embody the thing, we're not going to get there, right? So, what happens at the top of the year? We all make a bunch of resolutions, right? We're going to start something new, or we're going to be different than the person that we was the previous year, only to fail a few weeks in and revert back to our old ways because we are already embodying a certain version of ourselves. We're already embodying certain qualities and actions that will only allow us to be a certain way, do certain things, or have certain things. So when we decide on something new, our entire identity has to shift. So what does this shift look like? How do we embody the qualities and the attributes of the person that we want to be, do, and have? Well, let's talk about it. We are made up of these three things: the way that we think, the way that we feel, and the way that we behave, the way that we act. We are made up of these three things. Think about it. When you wake up in the morning, the first engine that starts going is your mind, right? You start thinking about all of the things that you have ahead of your day. You start thinking about the things that happened yesterday. You start thinking about the things that you have coming up in the future, right? Think. We are made up of thought. Then we're made up of emotions, feelings. Anytime we think about something, we start to feel about something. And now there's different levels of feeling, right? We can feel really excited about something. Sometimes when we think about things in the past, if it didn't go our way, it'll make us feel really down about something. Or there is a space where we can be very neutral about what we're thinking about. But regardless, we are constantly feeling about something. We are made up of water. Water always moves, right? Nothing is still, everything vibrates, including us. So our emotions and our feelings vibrate within us. We're always feeling about something. And then what else do we do first thing in the morning? We act right away. Actions can be getting out of bed, brushing your teeth, drinking some water, making some coffee, going to the gym, going to work, right? We immediately begin to act. These things happen first thing in the morning, waking up from being unconscious into the conscious realm. They're happening, whether we want them to or not. They're happening, whether we acknowledge them or not. Okay, so the way that we embody is by thought, emotions, and behaviors. It's the way that we think, feel, and act. Now, let's break this down even further. So, how do we embody the qualities of who we want to be, the things that we want to have, and what we want to do? Let's talk about thought because this is really important. There are two levels of the mind when it comes to thought that we're going to focus on. It's the conscious and the subconscious. Okay? So the conscious is our waking world. That's where we get to filter the things that we want to be, do, and have. It's where we experience sight, sound, taste, smell, and feeling, right? With our fingertips. And so when we talk about the subconscious mind, though, that's going to be our main focus here is the subconscious mind. Feel free to take notes and leave your comments down below. So the subconscious mind is our unconscious thoughts, what we think and feel about and really believe about is submerged into the subconscious mind. It is a level below the conscious mind. Here are our beliefs, what we believe to be true about ourselves, about the world, as well as our experiences. That's what the subconscious mind is made up of, beliefs and then our experiences. Any concepts that you could think about. These could be concepts that we adopted while we were children, or these could be concepts that we adopted as adults. And then the experiences that they've had, right? Experiences that we've had, how they've impacted us. It lives in the subconscious, especially if it's had a high impact. And so when we talk about stepping into a new version of ourselves that does the thing or has the thing that we want now, right? That new thing, we have to make an impression on the subconscious mind because the subconscious mind's job is to express back into our real world, the reality, into the conscious world, exactly what we put into it. Okay? So we want to reroute the beliefs in order to have the experiences that the subconscious mind will eventually express back into reality. So how do we do this? Well, the very first thing that I'd recommend is to take note. Kind of want to change the colors up a little bit. This is the very first thing that you actually need to do, is to remove any self-doubts that you can be, do, or have the thing that you want. And this comes up for a lot of us, right? Because it's new. It's the first time that we've experienced this thing in this way, right? And so what automatically can come up for us is fear, right? Now that's natural in the human experience, but it's our jobs to tell our body, to tell our subconscious mind that we believe we are capable of doing and having that thing, and we are more than worthy of experiencing that version of ourselves, that does and has those things. Okay, so we have to remove any self doubts. This naturally comes up. So when I think about the subconscious mind, I think about the basement of my house, right? And in the basement of my house, I realized that I have a lot of stuff. Okay, I've moved once and then I moved back and I've been here for a few years. And now I'm looking at the accumulation of this stuff and realizing that over time, I actually don't need it anymore. So it's just living rent free, right? Down in my subconscious mind or in my basement, right? And it's just holding space. It's just clutter now. It actually doesn't have the same meaning nor value for me as it once did. Now it's just taking up space. And so, in order to create space for something new, right? When we want new things, we need to declutter. We need to remove the old things that's no longer serving us or has value or purpose in our lives. That's how I look at the things that's down in my basement. And so, what I've started to do last year was I started to think about, well, if this is taking up space for me now, how is that going to impact me in the year of 2026? Well, chances are that I might move this year. And if I was to move this year, chances are those things aren't coming with me. The same way doubts can't come with me. So I'm not going to wait for the day that I'm moving to now declutter, right? When on moving day, I only want to pack up the truck with the things that I'm absolutely taking. And I would love for that day to be as light as possible. I would love for my load to be as light as possible. So there's no need for me to wait till I have the keys to my new home. I can start to remove those things now, right? To create space in order to embody the version of myself that lives in a new home, right? And does not have any more of this clutter. So we need to remove any self doubts now in order to embody the version of ourselves that already has the thing, does the thing, and is the thing ultimately. Okay? So after we remove our self doubts, then we're going to replace it with things that serve us. Remember, the subconscious mind is impressionable, and its job, its responsibility, is to express what we put into it back into our reality. A lot of people don't even realize this or know that all of our waking life is run by the subconscious mind, like over 90%. This is not made up. This is not, doesn't matter whether you believe this or not. These are facts. Our waking life is run by what we believe about ourselves and the world, and then what we've experienced within ourselves and within the world. And so, because we're run by this, it's really important to make sure that we're pre planning, right? That we're putting into our subconscious mind what we do want to experience, especially because his job is to reflect that back to us. So, that should make sense, right? So, we want to replace it with things that serve us instead. Okay. So, not only would I or have I started to get rid of clothes that I don't want anymore, and not just get rid of it, like trash it. Like some things are trash, some things I've donated, and then some things I was able to sell, right? Now, those things all serve me, and then the things that I keep, I actually already put it in a box, right? So I started to pre-plan, and then not just a box, like I was able to be specific. Do I want this in a cardboard box, or do I actually prefer for this to be in a plastic container? These are things that I started to pre-plan for moving day, right? Because this is what I want to experience. I want to experience ease and flow. I might literally think about whether it makes sense to pack a box with a bunch of heavy things and what it's going to be like to have to lift that thing into the truck and off of the truck and unpack it. Or I get to decide of whether some of these things need to be divided into different spaces and whether they deserve to be in plastic containers that's easier to hold. I know I'm rambling about moving day, but remember, this is an example, and I'm talking about what I experienced. Remember what I said. I want to experience a smooth and light load on moving day. So these are things that I'm going to pre-plan from now in my thought process so that I can actually have that experience, right? And then what else do I want to experience? Well, if I'm going to think that far as to what it's going to be like on moving day, I'm also going to think about what it's going to be like to unpack the truck that day. I'm also going to think about the space within the home that I have, right, in the future, and what it's going to be like to unpack those things or how it's going to be stored later on. Even what I'm going to do with those boxes and bins once it's done. I'm going to replace all of the doubts that I just had, right? Or all of the things I just had. I don't have any doubts about moving. I know for a fact that that's going to happen one day. I know for a fact that I'm going to find a lovely home. I know for a fact that I'm going to be abundant and prosperous enough to take care of that home, to pay for that home, to maintain that home, right? I'm removing any doubts that I have about moving. I'm not going to have any complications with moving heavy items or having old items that I don't need anymore. I'm removing all of my burdens and replacing it with thoughts. Thoughts for the subconscious mind. Thoughts. The way that I think about it with what will better serve me for that day and beyond that day. Subconscious. Responsible for reflecting back to us what we believe about ourselves or the experiences that we want to have and the things that we want to do. Okay? So it's really important to impress our subconscious mind ahead of time. Next. B. It's a B. Feel. The way that we feel matters just as much as the things that we think. I thought it was really cool. I don't know how many of you are aware of Nero Knowledge. You watch his channel. Shout out to Nero one time. I really appreciate that content. He speaks my language. Okay. Nero made a really valid point about what happens when a seed begins to germinate in the mother's belly, right? So the very first thing that forms as we're becoming babies, humans inside of our mom's bellies, or if you're a parent to be, the very first thing that's happening or that has happened within your belly, in your womb, is a heartbeat, right? You go to your physician, they do a sonogram, and you hear the baby's heartbeat. When we associate emotions and feelings, what do we talk about? The heart, right? The heart. It's a very rapid and high vibration that lives within our body. The heart is associated with the way that we feel. When we talk about our emotions, we say it made my heart feel warm, or that hurt my heart. Or when we break up with people and they hurt our feelings, they say you broke my heart. Obviously, that's not literal. The figurative meaning is about emotion. And so the way that we feel is really important. The brain also is a high vibrating organ within our body. And so those two together, the way that we think and the way that we feel, when those two things go together, when those two things are married together, oh my gosh, that is what our manifestations are. Okay? Our manifestations are made up of thoughts and feelings together. So The way that we feel is really important, which means it's really important to first and foremost, we need to regulate our nervous system. That's number one. We need to learn how to regulate our nervous system. If you are not consciously aware or have a practice on how to regulate your nervous system, first and foremost, make sure that you hit the link down below. I got a free template for you that'll walk you through different ways of how to regulate your nervous system. But if you do know about this, you've heard about it, you've read about it, but you don't consciously or intentionally practice it, we have to, right? So just like any new thing, we need to build new habits around it in order for it to stick, in order for it to be in our, submerge itself into our subconscious mind that says that this is the thing that we do over and over again, right? Because we believe it, we believe in it, we believe that it helps us, right? And we've experienced the benefits and the effects of it. Regulating our nervous system is of utmost importance. When things don't go our way, right? Especially as we're talking about stepping into a new thing, that means that we're going to be challenged. We're not automatically the best at new things. We have to get good at it. How do we get good at it? By practice, by repetition, by doing it over and over again. It's the same thing that we have to do here with regulating our nervous system. When things don't go our way, what happens? We experience negative, or negative is not bad, by the way, right? I want you to think of emotions as a, we'll do that in another color too, as a battery. Emotions are a battery, right? And a battery, we have a positive end and the negative end. And those two things are needed. It's necessary to make anything work, right? Anything that you put the battery into, it needs a positive and a negative charge in order for it to work. So they both have its benefits. Anytime we experience negative emotions, we need to regulate our nervous system. Why? Because whatever we're thinking about, we're impressing the subconscious mind by what we're feeling about it. And that is how we recognize that thing going forward, right? So whenever we break up with someone and we think about them after the breakup, it gives us a negative charge about that person, right? It doesn't give us a positive charge. It does the opposite. It gives us a negative charge. And the more that we feel about the thing that we think about, the further it ingrains itself into our subconscious mind. I want you to think of that like a tattoo, okay? It gets harder and harder to remove the further and further down that thought and feeling goes, okay, into our subconscious mind. So it's our job to regulate our nervous system anytime we have a negative charge about a thought or an experience that we're having. Furthermore, it is our job to visualize something positive about the things that we're intentionally, consciously thinking about. Notice that I said intentionally, right? So visualization, whether you've done it before or not, I'm going to tell you that it's really beneficial if you do it right, okay? So I'm going to give you a few tips here, and then I'll probably do a video later on visualization, as it's this important to make sure that when you visualize that you're not only thinking. People think that visualization, which is often associated with meditation, that when you're visualizing something, that you're sitting and thinking about it. Yes, thought is included, but what needs to be married to the thought in order for it to be reflected back into our reality? Feeling. So I saw Avatar on New Year's Eve, and I saw it in 4D. It's a really great movie. If you haven't seen the Avatar series, I would highly recommend it. And I would highly recommend that if you haven't seen Avatar 3, that you go and see it. And when you do, that you see it in 4D. Why? Because not only are the visuals beautiful, but so is the immersion that happens when you see it in 4D, right? I mean, the fish are flying out of or swimming out of the screen, right? You hear the sound of the water. It's so beautiful. And I don't know about your 4D theaters, but they even spray, right? They spray mists from the ceilings. Like if a whale comes up from the bottom of the water and it breathes in the air, right? You get this mist and this spray, or the chairs even shake, right? When you're swimming in the ocean or if you're doing something turbulent, right? Something turbulent is happening in a movie, the chairs shake. Why am I explaining this movie Avatar to you? Because the reason why 4D is so successful is because it immerses us into the movie. It's not the same as just watching the movie anymore, right? On a screen at home. We are living in the feeling of that movie because we're able to feel. Now, remember what I said about the conscious mind, right? Not only are we able to feel, but we're able to see, hear, smell, taste, touch. Seeing the fish swim out from the screen in all of the beautiful colors. Hearing the sounds of the surround sound speakers when the whales are speaking or when there's some action that's taking place, right? There wasn't smell there, but that's okay, right? We get to smell and imagine things in our mind. If you have ever been to the beach, you know the beach has a very specific smell. The salt water, the sand has a very specific smell, right? Taste. Now, there wasn't taste there, but there was also touch, right? Being immersed with the mist from the ceiling or the chairs shaking, right? We were able to feel all of that, and that immersed us into the movie. I mean, it was absolutely an incredible experience. Now, why are these other things important when it comes to visualization? To be quite honest, that movie is great no matter what. But if it was only a visual, if there was no sound, if it wasn't 4D, so we didn't have the chairs moving and rocking and we didn't experience the mist coming from the ceiling, if we literally, there was no sound, like we couldn't even hear the narration of the movie, it wouldn't be as impactful. We wouldn't be as immersed with just the visuals alone. All of these things, when they come together, creates an experience. And what happens with experiences that we feel really deeply about? It goes really deeply into the basement of our minds, our subconscious, where over 90% of what we remember is reflected back to us in our reality and waking world. So when you do your visualization, it's really important that you don't just think about it, but that you feel about it and that you include the rest of your senses, as many senses as you can. So let's say that you want to experience a vacation to Tokyo this year. Well, not only what does Tokyo look like in the places that you want to visit within that city, what does it feel like to be there, right? What are some things that you might hear? What are some things that you might touch? What are the experiences that you want to have in Tokyo? Immerse yourself in that. If you want to be at the beach, like I said, right? Don't just see the water and see the sand. What does sand feel like on your feet, right? Is the water cold or is it warm, right? Are there seagulls or dolphins, right? And what do they sound like? Immerse yourself in the sound, right? What does the water sound like as the waves crash on the shore, right? You want to immerse yourself in the feeling. Now, you might be able to do that straight from your mind, or you might need assistance. I'd highly recommend that you download a meditation, or that you actually watch a piece of content in a visual about a place or a space or a thing that you want to be, do, or have, to give you more insight into that experience so that you can immerse yourself into that visualization process. This is going to create a positive charge for your subconscious mind so that it can reflect itself back into your reality. I'm not even gonna hold you. My mouth's dry, so I'm gonna go ahead and get a sip of my tea, which I meant to do already. All right, so remember, you want to regulate your nervous system. Make sure you write this down, y'all. In order to feel, you want to regulate your nervous system when you have a negative charge. You want to also induce a positive charge through a visualization process. These two things, regulating your nervous system and visualization, takes intention, it takes action, it takes for you to actually do these things consistently in order to have this positive experience that you're wanting to create for 2026. And here we go, last one. And the last thing is, oop, action. Action. Faith is believing to see what we want into reality. Nothing occurs the other way around. Anything and everything that has been built, that has been made, has first come from the conscious. It's come from the mind, and then it's appeared into our reality where we can experience it in its fullest form, which is called the manifestation, where you can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, right? So action. Because we don't need to wait for the thing to be here to take action, we want to take action now so that the thing can actually get here. So let's say that you wanted a new job, right? Neville Goddard, absolutely one of my favorites. If you know Neville Goddard, drop a heart down in the chat down below, a blue heart down in the comments. I want to reference Neville Goddard because he talks about this, right? Let's say that you want a new job in 2026, a new career, a new profession, or even if you want to start your own business, doesn't matter. The first thing that Neville Goddard says to do is to see yourself gainfully employed. So this is a part of the visualization that we just talked about, right? So not only do you want to see yourself gainfully employed already, whether you're self-employed or you're employed by an employer, but then you also want to one, two, act as if you're gainfully employed. So, sorry, I know there's a glare there. Act on it. So you want to act as though you're gainfully employed. What does a gainfully employed person act like? If you are seeking a position in a particular type of industry or a particular type of job, right? What actions would that person take? Now, maybe you don't have insight into this, but what about even, especially if it's a job, right? What about the interview process? What actions would you take had you already had the interview date and time for that job? Perhaps you'd buy a particular dress, right? And not just like a dress, but like a dress, your outfit, your suit, whatever the case may be, right? Maybe you practice your interview questions, situational, behavioral questions. Maybe you would prepare your portfolio, right? These are things that you could do now. You don't have to wait, right? So if you intentionally went out shopping now, don't buy something that you actually wouldn't wear, but buy the thing that you would if you can, right? Or choose that outfit from your closet already, right? Go over those questions ahead of time. Learn about the company, right? And utilize that as a part of your responses, right? Use ChatGPT to help you with your interview questions. Prepare for your interview from now, right? If you were starting your own business, what does your business model look like? Who is your ideal client, right? Fill out that profile from now. You don't have to wait until you actually are in business. Actually, you don't have a business until you start doing transactions, and you need to know who you're doing transactions with. So those are things that you can start doing from now. These are actions that you get to take from now and that you don't have to wait on it. The reason why this is so important is because remember the subconscious mind. This is so important as a part of embodiment. The subconscious mind actually doesn't know the difference between something that's really happening and a future event. So in this realm, we get to say, well, that's not happening yet. And if we're telling ourselves that, and if we believe that, guess who also believes it? Your subconscious mind. And so that's what it's going to continue to express back into your reality. But if you're already preparing for the thing, if you're already acting as the CEO of this organization that you want to work for, or if you're already successful in running your small business, then your subconscious mind believes that to be true as well. So we need to make impressions. Remember that we said we're thinking ahead of time. We're forward thinking about the things that serve us. And then we're also doing the things that also serve us from ahead of time. Remember what I said. I don't have, technically, I don't physically have my new home yet, right? The keys to my new home. I don't physically have those keys to my new home, but I've already started to prepare for my move, right? So that's the action that I'm taking. That is the preparation for what is to come. So what are the actions that you can take now for the version of yourself that you're becoming, for the things that you want to have and experiences, for the things that you want to do? How are you preparing for it? If you have travel endeavors, how are you preparing for that? Right? Are you saving money? Are you looking at flights and hotels or Airbnbs? Are you looking at excursions or the sites that you want to stop at when you're there? Are you looking at the restaurants that you want to eat at? Do you have a list? Right? If you're wanting to purchase your first car this year, go to the dealership and test drive the car. Right? What color do you want to buy? What do you want the interior to be? Is it going to be custom, or are you going to just pick something that's off in the lot? Right? So all in all, y'all, embodiment means that we're intentionally thinking, intentionally feeling, and intentionally acting. At the bottom line, this is all about intention. Embodiment takes intention. And if we are doing these three things with intention, there is no doubt that what you want to be doing will show up in your reality. And this is how you set your mind to it in 2026. Be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you know when I drop more content like this. Like this content if you did like this video so that I can make more like it. Make sure you check out the links down in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.